And how are you today? My name is Bill Nordan. I'm a Civil War reenactor. I've been doing this since about 1980. I got into this hobby making flags. In fact, by making flags, I could afford to do this. It's a very expensive hobby. So I've been asked to talk to you about some of the different flags that I've made and why they're so unique and what they really represent. So I'm here with my friend, and let's get at it.
All right, Bill, good to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
So, what can you tell us about the flags? And we'd like to know what they are and kind of the differences, because there are a lot of variations.
Well, you can't really talk about the flag until you talk about why the flags are different, but also the same. And that's mostly comes from what you're wearing right here. So you're wearing a uniform that came out in 1862. Prior to 1862, you would not have been wearing collar rank. You would have been wearing shoulder boards because you would have been an American soldier.
Right.
And that's the problem most people don't understand about the Civil War. It was the United States of America against the Confederate States of America. Because up until the Civil War, they were all Americans. So when they went to make flags, their flags reflected the fact that they still thought they were Americans. Yeah, that's one of the issues. In fact, if you think about the very first engagement of the Civil War, well, I won't say the first one, but an early engagement was called the Battle of Big Bethel. And that took place right outside of Yorktown, Virginia. Now, at the time, a general named Butler had a whole bunch of troops down in Newport News, which, yes, they had a place called Newport News. And the Magruder decided to reinforce a section of Yorktown called Big Bethel. There was two churches, Little Bethel and Big Bethel. Well, McClellan decided he was not going to have Butler sit in Newport News. So he thought, let's go up and take Big Bethel away from the Confederates. So he organized 4,500 troops under Butler. Of course, Magruder only had 1,500, so you know where this is going to go, right? Yeah. Confederates had no choice. Magruder gets 3 regiments together. If I remember right, one of them was the 9th New York, which is a Zouave regiment, which they're dressed like Frenchmen. They didn't have any clue about that at that time, which meant they were wearing red pantaloons, really short little jackets with red trim all around, and they had red fezzes. So that was how they were dressed out. Of course, the 8th New York was with them. They had uniforms that the state had issued them, which were gray uniforms, had a black cuff and collar, had a gray hat with a black trim. They had black rank on their side. They had gray pants with a black stripe. Perfect for New York. You also had the 1st Virginia. That was the infantry. Now they came along with their gray uniforms, and in their gray uniforms, they had black stripes across the front. Everything looked pretty good. Of course, they're United States troops. They're carrying the big United States flag. They look great. The only problem was North Carolina was holding Big Bethel. And of the 3 regiments of North Carolina troops, they were wearing the uniform of the North Carolina State Troop, which was a gray jacket with black trim, cuff and collar, black rank, gray pants, black stripe, gray hat with a black trim. So the uniforms,
like the same people.
could have been the same people. But hey, you know, if you're on one side and they're on the other side, obviously it's the enemy, right?
Yeah.
So here's what happens. Butler's told to go in and attack with his 3 regiments. They're given passwords so they know that who's who. The New York guys, the Zouaves, decide to go in early. They go up, they take the Little Bethel, but they alert the pickets. The pickets are now going back to tell the North Carolinians there's somebody out there. They're slow, they don't get there in time. However, the Virginia regiment and the New York regiment are going down 2 different roads. And when they intersect, they forget the password. And they open up on each other because they're both wearing gray uniforms, and they think they ran into the North Carolinians. Well, that just nobody was hurt. It was a big fiasco. They get back together and continue marching down the road. But they alerted the North Carolinians that they were coming. So, of course, Magruder gets his people in their little bunkers and fighting positions, and they all get ready, and they open up when the New York regiments come into play. They open up on them. Battle lasts about an hour and a half. There were 18 killed on the Federal side, and on the Confederate side, 1. They had defenses. But then the Federals decided to go back home, back to Newport News. All was forgiven, all was lost. First Confederate victory. That's a month and a half before Bull Run. But here's the big problem. As they're coming up, of course the New York or the North Carolinas, they know the other guys are the enemy. Their flag is cased. Doesn't matter. Even if they uncase it, it's a U.S. flag. They've seen it, and they know they're coming at them. The Federal side sees the Confederates and the Confederate flag flying, and they mistake that for a U.S. flag. Do you want to know why?
Why is that?
Look at the way they're made. What a U.S. flag. I apologize for having small flags, but they were taller people. Okay? So the U.S. flag, of course, has a blue field. It has the red and white stripes. The first national Confederate flag had a blue field and a red and white bars. But at a distance of 600 meters, they look alike, especially in fog, early morning, 5 o'clock, and people are sleepy. They can be mistaken. And if the uniforms are exactly the same and the flags are exactly the same, mass confusion. This happened right away a month and a half later at the Battle of Bull Run. Same issue. They wore 5 different colors of uniforms on both sides, and they carried flags that looked very similar. So commanders decided that would have to change. Now you ask why they carried a flag that looked like the U.S. flag. It's very simple. Back to that thing about Confederate States of America. They're Americans. They've been under this flag all their life. When they design a new one, they adopt this one, the first national stars and bars. Trick is they only adopt 3 throughout the entire war. And they're not allowed to use them after the war, so nowadays most people don't know what they look like. They have this one. Then in 63, they adopt the second one because, again, confusion on the field. So they thought, let's get rid of the confusion. They came up with the stainless banner. First time this was used was actually on the coffin of Stonewall Jackson when he was killed. They used this to drape his coffin. Okay, but this hit the field. It didn't last very long. They didn't like it. The Navy liked it because it changed the ships, but we'll get to that some other time. But when the wind's not blowing, what happens to the flag?
Looks like a white flag.
Surrender. People don't like that. You run out there, hey, we surrender, we're not going to fight. That doesn't go. So the Confederates, in their infinite wisdom, at the end of the war, they put a big red bar down the end of this. What do you think happened to that flag?
It kind of ran out of time.
Yeah, it definitely ran out of time. They decided they accepted it 2 weeks before the war, and before it could get to the field, the war was over. So that's just the way it goes. So commanders in the field were given the autonomy to make their own flags with all the issues going around. They could make anything they wanted as long as it was adopted as a battle flag, not a national flag. You only had 3 nationals, first, second, third. Anything else was not a true Confederate flag, but it was a true Confederate battle flag. And that's what I have around here. If you look around, several of these, there's some first nationals, but most of them are just battle flags. And each battle flag was designed to fit the neighborhood, the area. They were made by the family members of either the commanders or the family members of the regiment. They were presented to the regiment, and then they kept them as long as they could until the Army decided to change it and come up with a standardized flag. And there were several standardized flags. Of all, the Confederates had 271 different styles of Confederate flags.
That's a lot of different flags.
That's a lot of different flags. But you look at the ones, some of them you see, like this one here. Now, this is called a Confederate flag in most places you go to today, but it's actually a Naval Jack. Remember I said the flags have the blue fields in the corner. Well, on a ship, the little blue field on the corner of the flag, like the 50 stars, would be on the foremast of the ship when you came into port. Okay, the Confederates have a blue field with 13 stars. It looks just like the Federals. So when they went to the second national, this became the Jack that you would see on the front of the ship. Right. Okay, and then of course they liked the big white flag because it looked good at sea. All right, if you look at this style, now this looks like the same thing, but it's not. It's totally different. This is a battle flag from one army, one of 7. It's the Army of Northern Virginia. Now, it didn't start off with this flag. In fact, it didn't even start off as the Army of Northern Virginia. It started off as the Army of Potomac. It was against the Army of the Potomac. Yeah. But when Joe Johnston commanded it, it was the Army of Potomac. The flag was the same size, but it was red here and white here, and that was it. When Lee took over in 62, Lee changed everything. The name of the unit from the Army of Potomac to the Army of Northern Virginia. And then he turned around and changed the battle flag and adopted what they call the Beauregard battle flag. All right. This was actually sent in as one of the flags that they wanted to utilize as the Confederate flag, but it was not adopted. They instead went for the stars and bars. Then here we find, just to make it a little bit more confusing, you can run out to Missouri. Okay, this is a Missouri battle flag. There was a lot of Christians in the Army back then, both sides.
Yes.
And the cross really seemed to be the big thing to have on your flag. You'll find some of the early flags in Missouri. A lot of them have the cross in Boston at some place. But that was really big for them. And this is the Missouri battle flag. Now this one's a little bit different. This is the 33rd Alabama Infantry. Okay, and this is their early war Confederate infantry flag.
Looks a lot like the U.S. with the stripes.
Again, there goes that standardized confusion, doesn't it? And it does have stars and stuff. If you look on the reverse side, it says citizen soldiers. I think that's what? Something freedom? Shield of freedom. Shield of freedom. Yes. With the 1 star. This is a presentation flag, though. You notice it's got the gold trim on it. It was given to the unit and used the first year of the war. After that, they went into the Hardy Corps flag, which was blue with a big white circle. Different types of federal flags. This one here was what the Federal Cavalry used all the way up until 63. And at the Battle of Gettysburg, the first time this came out, which is the Federal Guidon. Now the Guidon has a funny history too. Do you know at the end of the Civil War, Ohio was the only state that did not have a state flag?
I did not know that.
It adopted the Guidon as its flag, and it kept the Guidon until 1901. And then it decided to come up with the flag that it has now. Kind of just offhanded thing. It's not quite Civil War-ish. Then we have smaller. Now, the reason this one is smaller, it's still a Beauregard battle flag, but it's smaller because the cavalry would have carried a smaller emblem. Mm-hmm. If you've ever carried a flag on a horse, a large 56 by 56 will throw you off in a windstorm. This one you can stay on the horse and it's still good. This one's a 4th Kentucky Infantry, Confederate. That is the state seal of the state of Kentucky. Interesting, Kentucky had 2 governors during the Civil War. Yes. A Confederate governor and a federal governor. In fact, the governor of Kentucky at the beginning of the war, Johnston, was offered command of one of the regiments, and he turned down the command to join the 4th Kentucky Infantry, and went to the Battle of Shiloh and was killed as a private. This one is a totally unique one. How many people know what happened at the Battle of Gettysburg?
Well, a lot of people are interested in that one.
Well, you heard about this guy Pickett, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he gets all the press. Yeah. But do you think he made the charge?
Don't believe he did.
I think he stopped about halfway. But there were 2 commanders that went all the way. and that was Pettigrew and
Yes.
I just lost the name. Come on, David's last name. Oh, Lord.
I can't believe.
Breckenridge.
No,
Not Breckenridge.
No.
No. We'll get back to
I
him.
know.
We'll get back to him. Anyway, this is the Maryland Stars and Bars. This flag here is a duplicate of the one that his command carried on the right wing of Pickett's charge. And if you look on the opposite side, the seal of Maryland, this is the obverse of the seal of Maryland. So he had the seal, both sides were represented.
Oh, it's very interesting. The two emblems on each side.
It is very difficult though, but
Yeah.
it can be done. But of course here, this is another cavalry style. This is the 1st Alabama Cavalry, early war. It's Confederate. Now, you ever heard of the Battle of Kentucky or the Army of Kentucky?
Actually, I have.
You have?
I have.
Did you know the Army of Kentucky took a photo of the Beauregard battle flag and designed their battle flag on the photograph?
I wasn't aware of that. No.
Yes, because if you look at it, where the blue is red, and where the red is blue.
I have seen pictures of that.
That's the Army of Kentucky. That's Beauregard's flag. Now, Beauregard also had this unit, which is the 39th North Carolina. Apparently, they were Scots, but 39th North Carolina fought the Battle of Perryville and the Battle of Richmond.
Okay.
So it was at both places. This here's John Hunt Morgan. This is the one he carried when he went up to Ohio, and did his big raid in Ohio. In fact, it's a full-size flag. He had the small ones. In fact, if you go to Brandenburg, I think it is, and look in their museum, they have a couple of the original flags, and they are the small 2 foot by 3 foot, which come to about the size of that. But his main flag, his headquarters flag, is this. This is the flag of the 4th Kentucky Cavalry, also the 4th Kentucky Infantry. If you look at the infantry one, though, it's bigger. Well, it's a lot bigger than that one. It's about 9 foot by 9 foot.
That's a big flag.
It was a big flag, and they carried that on the field. I've got a picture someplace of them holding that flag up on a clothesline just so they could show it. But the cross was laid down. It wasn't standing up. I don't understand that, but the cross was laid down. Of course, the 9th Kentucky Infantry, and this is a smaller version of their flag. All Kentucky regiments at the beginning of the war had the same style, First National. Every one of them would have stars on one side. This one would have had the cross with a C and a G on it for Citizen Guard. And then on the obverse, or the opposite side, it would have had the cross here laid down on its side with Kentucky shall be free on every one of those. The 2nd Kentucky, the 3rd Kentucky, the 5th, the 6th, and the 9th. All of those had the same exact flag on one side. Then, of course, North Carolina. Can't miss North Carolina.
Stands out.
The funny thing about the state flags, and we'll look at the state flags at a different time, I imagine. But the state flags that were carried by all the succeeding states were required to change at the end of the war, so they couldn't fly the exact same flag. North Carolina, of course, being who they were, they took the blue field and put it here, and the red field and put it there, and switched it around a little bit, and they said, we're happy with that. Texas, they told them, go away. I'm not talking to you. South Carolina, same thing, go away. Yeah. Louisiana was a red, white, blue stripe, red, white, blue stripe, yellow star in a blue field. So they changed everything. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, all of them changed. However, Georgia, I love Georgia. Georgia in 2002 took the battle flag off of their state flag because they used to have a blue field with the Georgia emblem and a battle flag on the end of it. But for PC's sake, I will be nice, they were told in 2002 to take the battle flag off of their state flag. So Georgia adopted a new flag entirely. What they did, they took a First National, just like this, and they put a circle of stars with the Georgia seal on the inside. So the state flag of Georgia since 2002 is the first national Confederate flag.
Little ironic in the day.
It is hilarious, hilarious. Well, that's what we've got today. There are more. Well, I was talking about the uniforms. Some of the funny things about the uniforms. These books are excellent if you're doing research on what you should wear. Now this uniform here. Put my glasses on. Don't show me glasses. This is a New York uniform in 1860-61. So when that Battle of Big Bethel was being fought, two of the regiments would have looked like this. If you look a little further, this is the Zouave uniform. Okay, the only difference was these pants would have been red instead of blue, and that's how they would have been dressed. And of course, all North Carolina troops were dressed exactly the same. And if you look at the Battle of Bull Run, which in Confederate would be Battle of Manassas, you ever notice that? There's two different names for every battle.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Each side named it different.
Well, one side named it for the nearest village, and the other side named it for the nearest feature. Yes. Yeah, Bull Run, Manassas. Bull Run Creek. Yeah, Antietam, Sharpsburg, that kind of thing. But where was I?
Well, I have a question for you about uniforms. Can you tell us about the one you're wearing?
Why I'm wearing this one?
Yes.
Well, in '63, John Hunt Morgan decided to bring his forces into Lexington. His mission was to go to Frankfort and install the Confederate governor, which he did for 2 weeks. But in coming through Tennessee into Kentucky, Morgan put on his jacket, took his stars off, and put on epaulets. Same rank, and in the Confederate Army that was legal. So as he rode in as a colonel. It's still a Confederate uniform. It's very dark gray, but anybody seeing him thought he was a Federal officer. And he actually went and found a farmer that knew the local area. Of course, Morgan couldn't ride as though he knows the local area because that would have given away who he was. So he let this farmer guide him down from southern Kentucky up to Lexington. And when he got to Clay's Mill, he told the guy, well, we got to go across. And the whole time he's been riding with this guy, the guy's been telling him about this disaster guy that comes through and kills everybody and rapes all the women and tears up all the farms. And his name is Morgan. And he really just telling him all bad things about Morgan. Well, when he gets to the ferry at Clay's Mill, Morgan turns over and says, "You're free to go back home. Oh, by the way, I'm John Hunt Morgan." And just messed the guy's day all up. Yeah. And then Morgan came across. He comes into Lexington. Two of his regiments, Gano's 3rd and Duke's 2nd Regiment, both come in and find the 6th Michigan is stationed here in Lexington at the Clay Estate. There's a small skirmish, not really a big battle, it's more of a skirmish, and they run the Federals out of Lexington, and Morgan comes in, visits his family, then goes on leaving a core of his unit here. He goes on to Frankfort, installs the governor, stays there for 2 weeks, and then comes back, and the governor comes with him. So it didn't really work, but he tried.
He did.
Yes, he did.
Bill, do you have any advice for people who want to get into reenacting?
Get a job. No, if you want to get into reenacting, go to a reenactor that's been there. Find out if anybody's getting out of the hobby. That's a good way to get cheaper stuff. Pick a side, or in most cases, don't pick a side. You'll find that in some events you have great time as a Confederate. In other events, you have more fun as a Federal. Don't make it a political thing. It can't be political. You're there to teach history. And if you can't just teach it as history, then you're wasting your time. Have fun. Have fun. Get the family involved. As much as a happy family is a good reenactor. And take chances. But yeah, it'll be expensive. It's always been expensive. If you can make something, make it, sell it, that'll help your hobby. That's what I did. I learned to make things.
Well, thanks for coming on today. Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
joining us.